Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever wondered if there's just, like, one perfect person out there for you?
Hmm.
Someone you're absolutely destined to be with? It's such a powerful idea, isn't it? So
Yeah.
romantic. You see it in movies, read it in myths.
It really is. It taps into that really deep human thing, that desire for ultimate connection, for belonging. It feels almost universal.
Totally universal. But, okay, how does that romantic notion of destiny stack up against what, modern psychology tells us about how we actually form connections?
That's the big question we're diving into.
Yeah, so in this deep dive, we're looking at a whole range of sources. We've got academic studies comparing ancient beliefs from all over the world, psychological research looking at our earliest bonds and how they affect our adult love lives.
And some really practical guides on actually making relationships work day to day.
Right. So our mission here is to pull out the key insights, maybe some surprising facts, just to help you get a really well-rounded view on this whole soulmate thing.
We'll dig into where those traditional ideas about fate kind of collide with the psychological realities of connection.
And what that actually means for you listening right now in your own relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So where do we even start? It's such a huge concept, maybe with how different cultures have traditionally seen soulmates. We looked at this comparative study.
Yeah, that was fascinating. It pulled together traditions from Oriental, Mediterranean, and African cultures.
Okay.
And what's really striking is even though these cultures are so different, you find these common threads popping up everywhere.
Like what?
Well, this idea of like cosmic forces at play, bringing souls together, beliefs in eternal love, metaphysical connections, things that feel bigger than just chance.
Destiny, fate.
Exactly. Destiny, fate, sometimes even divine intervention. They're seen as having a hand in bringing these fated partners together.
Wow. So it's not just a modern Hollywood invention. This runs deep.
Oh, absolutely. Deep human history. But the specifics do vary.
Right? How so?
Well, the study pointed out that in, say, Oriental and African traditions, there's often this bigger emphasis on spiritual growth and karmic connections being part of the deal.
Ah, okay.
Sometimes that even involves specific spiritual rituals to kind of align the partners on that path.
So it's not just about finding the person, it's about the journey you take together spiritually.
Precisely. Now, contrast that with Mediterranean traditions. Think ancient Greece, Rome, Egypt.
Okay.
There, the focus seems a bit more tilted towards romantic love itself and a concept of fate that's often tied into specific myths, specific stories, and the importance of marriage rituals.
That's a really interesting split. Spiritual karma versus romantic fate tied to stories. What kind of myths are we talking about? Any famous ones?
Oh, yeah. The big one is probably Plato's story from ancient Greece. You know the one, humans were originally these double beings.
4 arms, 4 legs, 2 faces.
Right, and the gods split them in two, so now we're all searching for our other half.
The classic soulmate origin story.
Exactly. And then you've got the Oriental legend of the red string of fate.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, this invisible red thread that supposedly connects destined lovers no matter what. Time, distance, circumstances doesn't matter.
Such a powerful image, that string. Like fate literally tying you together.
It really is. The study also touched on concepts from ancient Egypt about the soul, maybe different parts of it needing to reunite.
Hmm.
And of course, just countless love stories and folklore everywhere. They weren't just stories. They really cemented these beliefs about destiny and connection.
So the stories were kind of teaching tools, in a way.
You could say that, yeah. And it wasn't just about finding this magical connection and living happily ever after. There were moral dimensions too.
Ah, okay. What do you mean?
Well, these traditional beliefs often came bundled with like a strong sense of duty. Finding your fated person meant responsibility.
Responsibility how?
Emphasizing things like loyalty, devotion, sacrifice within that bond, family approval, societal norms, those mattered. Finding your one gave you a kind of relevance, but also a big responsibility.
So it was a destiny that demanded something from you, not just something for you.
Precisely put, yeah. And it's interesting why these old ideas still resonate so much, isn't it?
Yeah, why do you think they do?
Well, they connect these, ancient traditions straight into things we still talk about today. Philosophy, fate, identity, what it means to be connected. We're still wrestling with those big questions.
That makes sense. Okay, so that's the traditional view. Powerful, fated, cosmic connections. Now let's switch gears. What does modern psychology say about all this?
Right. So sources like Psychology Today, Psych Central, they suggest the picture might be, well, a bit more complicated than just finding one single perfect match.
Uh,
Psychology often talks about this contrast. You've got the soulmate theory, the idea you find someone who just completes you, your other half.
The fairy tale version.
Kind of, yeah. But then there's what some call the work it out theory,
Okay.
which is more about finding someone you genuinely care about, someone you're compatible with, sure, but then you're committed to growing together, navigating life together. You build the connection.
And didn't one study look at people who believe in one versus the other?
Yes, exactly. It found that people who strongly believed in the soulmate theory, well, they did report higher relationship satisfaction.
Okay.
But, and this is a big but, only if they felt totally convinced they had actually found the one.
Oh, that sounds risky. Like, what if doubt creeps in?
Precisely. It highlights how fragile that belief could be if it's all pinned on finding this perfect, pre-made fit. Any bump in the road could make you question if they're really the one.
Okay, here's where I thought it got really interesting. This other idea that soulmates aren't just found, but they're actually become.
Yes. I really connect with this perspective. It shifts the focus entirely. It acknowledges that initial intense phase, right? The cocaine rush, the crazy attraction, the hope, maybe seeing the person through slightly idealized lenses.
Rose-tinted glasses, yeah.
Right. But it says that's different from the deeper love, the kind that only grows over time, built on really knowing each other. Warts and all, you know? Accepting the flaws.
So it's less about the initial spark and more about, like, tending the fire over years.
Beautifully put, yeah. It's about being journeying partners, navigating life's ups and downs together. There was this analogy.
Oh, yeah.
Comparing the excitement of moving into a brand new perfect dream house versus the deep, profound attachment you feel to a home you've lived in for years, filled with memories, challenges overcome, shared history.
Ah, the dream house is shiny, but the lived-in home has, like, soul.
Exactly. It has soul because you put the soul into it together.
Okay. And then there was the loner wolf perspective, tackling some common myths.
Right. They offer a slightly different angle again. They suggest soulmates aren't just romantic partners.
What else, then?
They can be best friends. They can be like mirrors reflecting parts of yourself back to you, spiritual catalysts pushing your growth, trusted confidants, important teachers.
I like that. It broadens the idea beyond just romance. So what makes someone feel like a soulmate from their perspective?
They talk about that feeling of just deep familiarity, you know, like you've known them forever, someone who gets you on a really profound level, someone who feels like they're on the same wavelength, vibrating at the same frequency, sharing core values, big dreams, and importantly, someone in love you unconditionally.
That sounds amazing. But their point about the myths that felt crucial.
Totally crucial. The biggest myths they challenge are, one, that soulmates are perfect, which thank goodness, right?
Right.
Two, that you always recognize them instantly. They say soulmates can definitely come in disguises. And maybe the most potentially damaging myth, that they always stay for your whole life.
Ah, that's huge. The idea that a soulmate connection could be temporary.
Yes. That a soulmate, especially if they're a catalyst for growth, might be in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And all are valid.
Wow.
And that also opens the door to the idea that you might have multiple deep, compatible connections, soulmates or soul friends throughout your life, not just one single person.
Okay, this raises a really important question then. Does everyone actually have a soulmate out there? Is there someone for everyone?
The perspective offered on that was interesting. It suggested that everyone has the opportunity for that kind of deep connection.
Okay.
But maybe not everyone has the capacity for it at any given moment.
Capacity.
Yeah.
What does that mean in this context? Like emotional space?
Kind of. It suggests that being ready for and able to sustain a really profound soulmate-level bond requires doing your own inner work. Things like self-love, self-awareness, really knowing who you are, what you value, what you genuinely want and need in a relationship, and also being open, receptive, trusting enough to let that connection form and deepen.
So it comes back to you.
In a way, yeah. The idea is that our mindset, our values, our own readiness shapes the reality we create, including the kinds of relationships we attract and build.
What really stands out to you from all this psychological stuff, for me, it feels like such a massive shift.
Definitely, yeah.
Away from passively waiting for destiny to deliver someone perfect and towards like actively participating, being self-aware, And putting in the effort to build a relationship.
Absolutely. It puts the power, or at least a lot of it, back in our own hands. Becoming ready for that kind of connection seems just as important as the search itself.
Okay, let's try and ground this even more. Let's bring in some modern science. We looked at a study on attachment styles.
Right, and this ties directly back to what we were just saying about capacity and inner work.
How so?
Well, attachment theory, originally from John Bowlby, basically says our earliest emotional bonds, usually with parents or primary caregivers,
Hmm.
they create a kind of template or pattern for how we approach closeness and relationships later in life, including romantic ones.
It's like our internal blueprint for connection.
Huh.
And the sources described the main adult styles. Right.
Exactly. Research usually points to a few main patterns. First, there's the secure style.
Okay.
People with this style generally feel comfortable with intimacy, they trust others, feel secure in relationships, they're okay with closeness and independence. It's a balanced place.
That sounds like the ideal, really.
Yeah.
What are the other patterns?
Then you have the anxious style, sometimes called preoccupied. This is often marked by a fear of rejection or abandonment, a sense of insecurity.
Hmm.
So people with this style might need a lot of reassurance, maybe come across as clingy, or have really heightened emotional reactions in the relationship.
Okay, that makes sense. And the third one?
That's the avoidance style. Generally, this involves a kind of reluctance to get too emotionally close, valuing independence very highly, sometimes at the expense of intimacy,
Where does that come from?
often linked to early experiences where caregivers were maybe unavailable, distant, or dismissive of needs. And within avoidant, you can have subtypes like dismissive, where someone thinks highly of themselves but poorly of others, or fearful, where they kind of have negative views of both themselves and others, making intimacy scary.
Gotcha. So how did this specific study connect these styles to people's well-being?
Okay, so this study looked at, about 81 young adults in India, aged 18-24, who were in romantic relationships.
Right.
They used standard questionnaires, basically asking people about their relationship patterns, attachment style, how satisfied they were in their current relationship, and their general mental well-being, like happiness and life satisfaction.
Okay, so measuring those three things, what did they find? Any clear links?
Very clear links. The big one was that higher relationship satisfaction was strongly connected to better mental well-being.
Okay, that tracks. Happy relationship, generally happier person.
Right. Pretty intuitive. But then they dug into the attachment styles themselves.
Yeah.
They found that feeling more closeness and comfortable dependence in their relationships, things associated with secure attachment, was positively linked with higher mental well-being.
So feeling secure in your bond is good for your head.
Exactly. And conversely, higher levels of attachment anxiety, that worry about being rejected or abandoned, was negatively linked with mental well-being.
So more anxiety in how you attach, the tougher it is on your overall well-being.
Precisely. The less secure you feel in your fundamental way of relating, the more it can impact your psychological health, at least within the context of these romantic relationships.
And I remember the sources also mentioned that these insecure styles, anxious and avoidant, they're often linked to a whole bunch of other difficulties too.
Yeah, the broader research landscape connects insecure attachment to things like being overly self-critical, struggling with self-doubt, difficulty managing emotions, more interpersonal conflict, feeling isolated, lower relationship satisfaction generally.
Wow, it's far-reaching.
It can be. Even things like social media jealousy, maybe substance abuse issues, difficulty identifying emotions, even stuff like workplace burnout. It shows how foundational these patterns can be.
So what's the big takeaway from this science bit for someone thinking about soulmates?
I think it shows that the internal programming we bring to relationships, shaped way back, really matters. It affects our ability to build those secure, satisfying connections that feel like soul connections, and it impacts our own happiness. Understanding your own patterns is like step one.
Okay, this is really painting a full picture now. We've got the myths, the psychology saying become not found, the science showing our internal patterns. So if soulmates are become, how do we actually do that? How do we
Yeah.
build these strong, healthy relationships? Let's get practical.
Yes, let's. And the message across all the practical advice sources was really consistent. Good relationships, the kind that last and feel deep, they take work. Ongoing attention, commitment, real effort.
It's not just coasting after you fall in love.
Definitely not. It's about actively building and maintaining that connection, day in, day out.
So what are some of the key building blocks? What does that work actually look like?
Okay, number one, almost universally mentioned, stay connected through communication, but not just talking at each other.
Right. What's the difference?
It's about feeling felt, feeling understood. A huge piece of advice was tell your partner what you need directly. They aren't mind readers, no matter how close you are.
Huh. Yeah, that's a big one. Easy to forget.
So easy. Also, pay attention to the nonverbals body language, tone of voice, both theirs and yours. And really listen. Don't just plan your reply. Try to understand their perspective.
And didn't the sources mention the 5 love languages here?
Yes, that came up as a useful tool. Understanding if your partner feels loved through, say, words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, quality time, or physical touch. Knowing that can make your efforts to connect way more effective. You're speaking their language.
Makes sense.
Uh,
If you're giving gifts but they crave quality time, it might not land. Okay, what else?
Managing stress is huge. Not relationship stress, but
Yeah.
like life stress, work, money, whatever.
How does that impact the relationship directly?
Because stress makes us less patient, more irritable. It can shut down good communication. You might snap at your partner without meaning to. So finding healthy ways you manage your own stress is actually crucial for the relationship.
That's a really good point. What about just being together?
Yep. Spend quality time face to face. Seems basic, but in our busy digital world, it's easy to let slide. Texting isn't the same as actually looking at each other, listening without distractions. Try new things together, have fun like you did early on. Even doing something helpful for others together can create connection and positive interactions.
And physical connection.
Vital. Keep physical intimacy alive. Touch is fundamental for bonding. It releases oxytocin. That includes sex, sure, but also just hugging, holding hands, casual affection. It keeps you physically connected.
Okay, communication, stress management, quality time, touch. What about when things get tough? Disagreements.
Right. Learn to give and take. Healthy relationships need compromise. You need to understand what's truly important to your partner, but also be able to clearly state your own needs. It's not about winning an argument.
What is it about them?
It's about resolving the issue while maintaining respect and strengthening the relationship itself.
Right.
Which leads to the next point. Learn how to respectfully resolve conflict.
The conflict is inevitable, right?
Totally inevitable. The difference is how you handle it. The advice is fight fair. Use I feel statements instead of you always. Don't dredge up the past. Be willing to forgive. Know when to take a break if things get too heated. And sometimes you just have to agree to disagree and let it go.
That takes practice.
A lot of practice. And finally, the source is emphasized. Be prepared for ups and downs. Life happens. Stress, job loss, illness, family issues. These things affect the relationship. The key is not taking it out on your partner. Be flexible, be open to change, adapt together as a team, and don't be afraid to seek help.
Right, like therapy.
Yeah, couples therapy, talking to a trusted friend or mentor, getting outside support if you're stuck is a sign of strength, not failure.
So connecting these practical steps back to the psychology, like attachment styles, it sounds like doing this stuff consistently is how you actually build that security.
Exactly. These actions, the communication, the quality time, the conflict resolution, the support through tough times, these are the very behaviors that build trust, create safety, foster mutual understanding. By doing them, you are actively shaping a more secure dynamic within the relationship. You're co-creating that deep, resilient bond that can feel like a true soul connection. You're becoming soulmates through your actions.
Wow. Okay, so we've really covered a lot of ground. From ancient myths about destiny and cosmic threads
Through the psychological takes that challenge the perfect match idea and emphasize growth.
to the science of attachment, showing how our past shapes our present relationships and well-being.
And finally, landing on the concrete, practical things you can actually do to build a strong, lasting connection.
Yeah. It seems the idea of a soulmate might start as this really romantic notion of fate just delivering someone to you.
Right, your other half waiting out there somewhere.
But maybe the deeper truth, looking at all this, is that the most profound connections, the ones that really feel like soul-level bonds, they aren't just found by luck.
No, they seem to be the ones we consciously choose to nurture, the ones we build, the ones we grow over time.
With someone we choose to walk alongside, imperfections and all.
It's a big shift, isn't it? From a passive search to like an active co-creation.
Definitely. Okay, so here's a final thought to leave you with, something to mull over. If the capacity for really deep, lasting connection, for a relationship that feels like that true soul bond we talked about, if that capacity is so closely tied to our own self-awareness, our inner work, our ability to relate securely, then does the potential for finding your soulmate actually rest more within you and the work you do than in some external predetermined destiny?